Okay, Far Cry 6. First of all, a few caveats. I played this for about 6 hours. I did not play it on my own machine though. I actually played it through what's called Parsec. And, you know, it basically streams it to my machine, okay? It's sort of cloud, whatever. That meant there were some problems with it. Basically, my aim in this is absolutely atrocious for two reasons. One, there was input latency when I was using Parsec. And two, when we tried to use a mouse, it didn't work. There was more lag with a mouse than with a controller. So I switched over to controller, and I don't use controllers for FPS, okay? So you're gonna see some true game journalist level aim in this video, okay? Please don't roast me too hard. The other thing was the machine that the game was running on was only able to run this at 1080p, so that's what you're seeing here. You're not seeing anything higher than that, which is a bit of a shame. I would have loved to have shown you 4K. But yeah, played it for about 6 hours. This is absolutely more Far Cry, okay? And I guess I have to admit a bias at the front. I actually like Far Cry games, and I get why people are thoroughly exhausted with them at this point, and they're like, no, that's enough. No more Far Cry, I get that. But I have always just enjoyed Far Cry games as the ridiculous explosion simulators that they are. I read somewhere on Reddit, someone said Far Cry games are essentially the Fast and the Furious of video games, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what they are. They are known and predictable and ridiculous, and just like turn your brain off and watch some crazy shit go down. Except here with a video game, you're making the crazy shit go down. That's what Far Cry's always been about. I've always liked that, and this is more of that. If you are clicking on this video wondering whether or not Far Cry has changed, I think I can pretty definitively say no, at least not from the first 6 hours that I've played it. Maybe there's all this shit later on that's radically new and different, but I doubt that. I did play the opening section of the game, like almost the full first map before you arrive on the mainland, and then I also played, you know, a good sort of 3 hours in that mainland where it's still early in the game, but you know, I'm further along. They skip me ahead basically. Yeah, look, it is very familiar, obviously. There are nice new additions that I really appreciated that continue to keep things fun, keep things feeling a little bit fresh. But at its core, this is still just, you know, a Far Cry game. And if you're down for that, then I expect you'll enjoy this. And if you're waiting for Far Cry to do to Far Cry what they did to Assassin's Creed and radically alter the formula, then this certainly doesn't feel like it's going to be that. But yeah, like I said, I had a good time. I always have a good time with Far Cry games. And this was no different. Let me show you some of the details now. Far Cry 6 is set in a make-believe Latin American socialist country run by a dictator. It's absolutely not Cuba, except it's absolutely Cuba, okay? Probably. I don't know, maybe it was something else, but you definitely get that vibe. It's got the whole 1960s Havana aesthetic going on, and dense jungles outside and guerrilla fighters running around. It's that kind of thing. The chief antagonist is voiced by Giancarlo Esposito. I actually did not get much face time with this guy during this demo, and one of the things I was quite looking forward to was to see, you know, how much of an impact he was going to have on the story. I saw a little bit more than what you saw in the trailers and in the gameplay snippets they've shown, but that was it. So, you know, I can't yet answer how much of an impact he's going to have on this game and whether or not he's going to transform the experience, because, you know, a good Far Cry villain can really make all the difference. Right now, he seems great, but as I said, I've just seen too little of him to really pass judgment. But anyway, he is the head honcho, and he's obviously not a very nice person. He has a son who he's trying to turn into an evil dictator just like him, but the son seems to be pushing back against that idea. The game actually opens with me hanging out with my friends. I choose my gender, and my name, by the way, is Danny Rojas. That's not a joke. It's the same name as the guy from Ted Lasso, you know, Football is Life. Is it the same person? I'm going to say yes, it is. I'm going to say that he left Richmond FC and he's become a freedom fighter here in Far Cry 6. Let's just go with it, right? My friend immediately dies, and then we're on the run. We catch a boat to try and get off the island. Sure enough, we get shipwrecked, and boom, I wake up somewhere else, ready to begin my life as a guerrilla fighter. I will very quickly connect with a bunch of guerrillas, and I think one of the interesting central threads of this game is this idea that there are these old guerrilla fighters who have been fighting their entire lives in the jungle, But there are also these new upstarts, like younger, almost like the guerrillas call them gang members and whatever, but they're clearly young freedom fighters, and they don't really like working with the old guerrillas because, you know, they think they know it all, and the guerrillas don't like working with them because they're like, oh, these young punks, and you kind of have to, it seems, broker some truce between them so they'll work together and, you know, take down Giancarlo. So, you know, I immediately meet up with them, and then the story kicks off. Not much more to say about the story at this point. That's all I really saw during this demo. Visually, the game looks good, but it certainly looks familiar. You know, it's Far Cry, which means it's a mix of outposts and small city sections, and obviously lots of jungle. Yeah, we're in a dense Cuban jungle here, but it looks kind of the same as most of the other jungle we've traipsed through in other Far Cry games. It doesn't look hugely different. I can't definitively say what I think about the, you know, visual aesthetics of this game, except to say that in that 6 hours, I didn't really see much to set it apart from previous Far Cry games, and I probably would have liked to have seen more of that. I get that Far Cry is very familiar structurally, tonally, a lot of its systems are reused, but I think they can do a lot of stuff with visual identity, and certainly from what I've seen so far, I haven't seen a lot of that, so I guess I'll watch this space. The world itself, it has a day-night cycle, as you would predict. It also has curfews that kick in, and one of the interesting things about, you know, Far Cry 6 is that basically I can move freely among the population, among the soldiers during the day, so long as my weapon is holstered, because they don't know that I'm a guerrilla fighter, I'm just some dude, right? But at nighttime there is a strict curfew, so if I'm seen out, then they're going to give me trouble, and similarly, you know, if I walk up to a guard with my gun out, then, you know, it's on like Donkey Kong. You can actually also bribe some guards for intel, which I thought was kind of interesting. You walk up to them and they'll kind of put their hand out so long as your weapon isn't out, so that's something. The map is really, really large. I don't know if it's bigger than previous Far Cry games, but I looked at it and I'm like, okay, that's a lot of square mileage, so, you know, that's cool, I guess. It is level gated as well. Even on my first island, I saw that there were sections that were for higher rank guerrilla fighter than I currently was. As I do things, I gain guerrilla fighter ranks, which unlocks different stuff for me. One section of the map said that I needed to be rank 4, I was only rank 1. I did actually go there and try and do some stuff, and it kicked my ass, but it wasn't impossible. And I think that's one thing that I kind of like, because I played Far Cry New Dawn, and that was a heavily level-gated experience. And it was really shitty, because it was impossible to do anything if you weren't high enough level. You just couldn't do any damage to certain enemies or whatever. This feels like you can do stuff at those other places, but it's going to be harder. And I think that's what I experienced, and I like that. That's fine. You know, so long as the level gating doesn't completely shut the door for me, then I can work around that. That's okay. Being a Far Cry map, there are plenty of outposts to clear. Doing so will give you a fast travel point and also resources, which you'll use to upgrade your weapons and your armor and your base. There's also anti-air batteries which need to be taken down, and that's interesting in the sense that, you know, you can't just find a helicopter and start flying all over the map because you'll immediately get shot down. You need to clear out the map section by section by taking out these anti-air guns, so that's that. I think Far Cry games don't get enough credit for how good their mission design is. I've always just really enjoyed the set pieces that Far Cry games set up, and also how much flexibility you have within those to approach them in however way you choose. Two missions in particular in this demo really stood out to me. One, I had to go to a plantation and take it out, basically. And there was different ways that I could do that, but the way I chose to do it was to set everything on fire. And, you know, I had a flamethrower, and I was able just to set all these, like, plantation plants. I don't know, it's a make-believe sort of cancer treatment plant, I don't know. So I could set it all on fire, that was cool. And similarly, the people that are walking around in these hazmat suits, they're really weak to fire, so I could blow them up. But I could also do this really stealthily if I wanted to, and I could, you know, take everyone out quietly, and when everyone was dead, I could then, you know, set everything on fire. It's up to me. The other mission that really stood out was this one on the tanker, and some guerrillas had been taken hostage and I needed to free them. I get airlifted in, I drop out of the boat, and my parachute doesn't open for some reason. I think it was a parsec lag thing, and then sharks are coming at me, and I'm like, shit, there's sharks, and I'm trying to get out of the water, and I finally did, and I get on board, and I, you know, stealthily take everyone down, and then I free all the prisoners, and then all of a sudden, it's like an air raid, and all these ships are doing strafing runs across the top, and I'm on these mounted guns and taking stuff down, and then I get in a helicopter and I start dogfighting, and then I'm like flying over the top of the boats that I'm escorting back to the shore, and then we land on the shore, and then more troops rock up, and it's like Normandy landing, and it was cool, man. It was a fucking cool mission, and that's Far Cry at its core, I think. And certainly, you know, that exists here as well. So I really love those sections. Weapons-wise, yeah, cool. You got lots of different guns, similar to what we've had in the past. You can mod them, of course, with silencers and with, you know, extra large magazines. There's also more bespoke mods that will allow you to do bonus headshot damage or, you know, bonus damage to armor and all that sort of stuff. And you're able to carry 3 primary weapons, 1 sidearm, and that really allows you to define a playstyle. You know, if you want to go in fully stealthy, you can have a sniper rifle with a silencer and a bow and arrow and a dagger and all that shit, and just do everything silently. But if you just want to go hell for leather, all guns blazing, that's an option as well. This brings us to one of the more interesting additions of Far Cry 6, the Supremo. What this is a backpack that has a variety of functions. Firstly, it houses all of your gadgets, so things like a baseball that you can use to distract enemies, or throwing knives, or claymores, and grenades, and molotovs, and whatever. It's basically a holster for all of your gadgets, so you'll determine what you've got available to you at any point in time by what you choose to equip into this Supremo backpack. The other thing this thing does is kind of act like a super. So here in this mission, when it's fully charged and I pop it off, it literally, you know, pans back to third person, and I kind of do this superhero kneeling down thing, and then rockets fire out of my back, and they automatically track targets around me, and then I blow everything up. There's another one that does an EMP pulse, which is pretty cool. There's another one that just does a big explosion around me. Also, while I'm running, I can use it to kind of give myself a bit of a boost and I move faster. So there's a whole bunch of those. I only had access to a few of them while I was playing. Plenty more to unlock as I go. But it's just another thing that Far Cry is using to like up the action. And it's like, hey, you want more explosions? How about an explosion backpack that just explodes everything after you press a button, okay? And the thing recharges really fast as well, so it's often up when you want it to be. That was cool. It's simple, it's kind of dumb, but it's fun. You know what I mean? Again, that's Far Cry. There are companions as well. There's a little crocodile called Wapo. He had a very cool introduction. Here it is.
Can you whistle?
What?
Nah, you can't whistle. A la pinga.
As you can see, don't mess with Wapo. There's also Chorizo, who is a little sausage dog. Perfect name for him. He's adorable, and you use him to distract your enemies. And they're like, oh, he's so cute. And then you put a bullet in their head. So, you know, that's quite morbid. Anyway, the final addition or new standout feature are bases. As you're going around, you're going to encounter certain, guerrilla bases. When you enter these places, you actually enter third-person perspective, which I think is a first for the Far Cry series. I don't remember ever seeing my character like this in Far Cry. It's a bit weird. I don't know why they've done it. I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Maybe it's just to, do the whole, hey, your character customization thing and highlight it more. I don't know. But you do. And then once you're there, you can do some base building. You walk up to this dude and you're like, I want to build this hunting lodge thing. And you click a button, you'll spend some resources, you'll then build it, and then that will unlock for you, certain things like, oh, I can find where the local wildlife is better. It'll give me maps for hunting grounds and all that sort of stuff. So it's okay, it's certainly nothing like Valheim or whatever. It's not like you're designing your bases and their layouts and whatever else. It's literally just like go to a menu, click a button. Hey, there's a new building there after I click that button. Would have been nice to see it a little bit more sort of kinesthetic. But, it's a thing. It's a new feature in Far Cry, so there's that. Apparently there are multiple bases, so I'll be able to build different buildings in different places, and there's that. So that's everything I saw. Like I said at the start, it's Far Cry, man. It's just, that's what it is. I think, as much as I enjoyed this, I certainly was thinking to myself, okay, maybe it's time we update this formula a little bit. And look, I don't like a lot of where the new Assassin's Creed games have landed, particularly in their bloat. But clearly they said, okay, this formula needs to change, and they did a lot of stuff to really change it. A lot of people do love where they've landed with that, and those games are doing really well, okay? Far Cry, it's been a long time now since we've had any change to the formula. Like, Far Cry 3 maybe was, every game since then kind of feels similar. And while they've all been good in their own way, as I played through this, I'm like, okay, where else could you take this, Ubisoft? Because it's probably time to take it there now. I think Far Cry is a really flexible template that you could do a lot of things with. So there's lots of places to go. Far Cry 6 doesn't go to any of those places, at least not from what I can tell so far. But look, again, I had a good time with this. This was fun. I will play through this. It's almost certainly not going to be one of my Game of the Year games. It's just going to be a game I roll through and have some fun with, and then I move on to the next thing. That's fine. If you were looking for that from your next Far Cry game, I suspect this will satisfy that. If you were looking for that update to the formula, you're going to have to keep waiting. Or play Far Cry Blood Dragon, which is still the best Far Cry game. That's a fact, okay? That is a fact. Anyway, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please hit me down below and I'll try and respond to what I can. Also on Twitter. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.